Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Industry Connect session with Seekamentor. My name is Charul Chandak and I am an incoming MBA student at SPJIMR Mumbai. And today along with us we have Anindya, who is a recent graduate from IIM Calcutta. And today we have an interesting topic to discuss about, that is on behalf of all the students who would be joining the MBA this year. We would be discussing a barrage of questions and scenarios which they would be, coming across on campus, and Anandya would be telling us the reality of a B school life, so to say. So, just to begin with, Anandya, can we have a short introduction about yourself and then let's dive straight into the conversation?
Uh, all right. So, first of all, thanks for having me. So, I have just graduated from IIM Calcutta, and prior to that, I did a bachelor's in political science from Ashoka University. In July, I am Tata Administrative Services. So, I think that's enough for an intro.
Right.
Where's your barrage of questions?
Sure. Let's dive into that. So, I just want to understand first things first. So, before starting your MBA at this point in time, what were your expectations and how different, looking back, how different did the reality turn out to be?
I didn't have a lot of expectations because my MBA, like, it was really unplanned. So, I didn't know a lot about the MBA, what IIM's MBA, all of that. So all I expected was that I thought it's going to be a very hard journey for me, given that I don't have background in mathematics or science.
Mhm.
So given the fact that subjects in IIMs and MBA colleges are usually they have a lot of maths in them, so I was a little nervous about that. So the first year was tough for me personally, but then I managed. It wasn't that tough. I had a lot of great peers to help me out, and the environment is such that once you get there, you'll do well. So the first few months can be a little tough, but then post that it gets easy.
Right. So, like you said, it was an unplanned thing for you. So, if I may ask, why was it unplanned and why did you firstly choose to do an MBA as a fresher? And do you think, looking back, that it was a deterrent in your journey, so to say?
Uh, Being a fresher is a deterrent in some ways. Classes are a little harder to understand because, especially as compared to peers who have work experience, given the fact that classes are case based, some classes are people who can relate to it because they've been in that sort of situation before. So as a fresher, I didn't have that. But apart from that, it has some advantages as well. Like, I mean, firstly, you'll be starting out earlier as compared to your peers. Then marketing jobs, and I wanted to go for marketing, so marketing generally prefers freshers. So I mean, again, it's not a huge deterrent if you have work ex. You can still get into marketing. But yes, these were some issues that I faced. Especially classes was the main part. But apart from that, no, I don't regret going there as a fresh. And as for the unplanned part, prior to doing an MBA, I was an athlete. I was a badminton player, and I had
Okay.
to retire. I retired unexpectedly due to an injury. So, given the fact that it was unplanned, my parents were pushing me for going for a UPSC and the full IAS IPS wala scene. But I didn't want to go for that because uska syllabus 4 page ka tha. And cat cat was my roommate was giving cat, and uska nahi hua, which is sad. But then we both prepped together. I took his material and then I ended up in AMCAL.
So, probably destiny genuinely had some different plans for you, uh, if I may say that.
Let's see, अभी देखते हैं. अभी तो डिग्री खत्म हो गई. अब when I join my job, I think I'll be able to comment on this better.
Right. So, okay. So, just to start out with, since you, as you said, like you did not have any expectations as such. So, when you joined a B school, how, like, I'm thinking like you started out with a complete blank, empty canvas and everything. How was the B school culture for you? How did you fit in? What were the things you did actually to, gel around with the folks?
So I couldn't find any other BA people, that's for sure. And most of the people there were engineers, and these are people who have been heavily into academics for a long time. And so for them, the academic journey was, much easier, much smoother because they were used to that kind of a workload. So, but fortunately, I was able to find people who I could really gel with, even though they were not from the same academic background. They've had a very still able to gel with them on other things like so we used to we had a lot of clubs. We had a lot of activities happening on campus, a lot of events, a lot of parties. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to, meet new people. And it's, at least in IIM Calcutta, it was a very friendly environment. So people, even though, we came from different backgrounds and everything, people would always, reach out to you, try to get to know you. So it's not that hard.
Right. And like when you're talking about clubs and activities and societies, how active were you during these 2 years? And I mean, how important are these per se?
See, depends. So personally, I joined only one club, which was the Pride of Joka. I was their design and content head, and I was a part of some sports. So, and I was active during sporting events and whatever meets we had.
Right.
So, but apart from that, I didn't take I was a part of, I joined a few clubs initially. I think I joined 3 clubs, but then I was able to contribute only to one, and I ended up sticking only with one. So a lot of people ज़्यादा clubs join कर लेंगे तो better experience मिलेगा, plus CV में डालने के लिए चीजें मिलेंगी. But at the end of it, like if you're not you can't spread yourself itna thin, because you just have 24 hours, and if even a single club will give you, you will have work to do. So if you're a part of too many clubs, then it gets too hectic and you won't be able to contribute properly. So it's not a great value addition to your CV if you couldn't do the work. And if a lot of people think positions of responsibility dal denge CV mein, it will be a huge improvement. But if you haven't worked, so you won't be able to justify it in your interview. And even if you did do some work, if you weren't actually passionate about it, so you won't enjoy your time there.
Right.
Plus, I mean, at the end of it, if it's not connecting to the rest of your CV, like for example, if say I was a part of, say, operations club, right, just for the sake of it, but मेरे CV में कुछ ops का है ही नहीं, and so it's not going to connect. So I believe like you should find your own niche. You should know what you like, and then and only then you should join a club.
Right. But Anandya, from what I've understood after talking to a lot of like friends of mine, what generally happens is, like I am talking this as an outsider, and since I've not experienced it for myself yet, since you are like flooded with a lot of opportunities on your face, and you just want to be on the top of it, and MBA mostly we see it's a shortcut redemption for most of the people, be it like even in your case you were switching to some other field and you wanted to pursue something else. So people want to do their best, be it in academics or extracurriculars, and some way probably they lose their path, they lose their focus. So my question to you is, how can one actually understand that, okay, this is the club, so these are the 5 things I need to be the best at, and okay, I'm going to stick at it, and not the 10 other things which I'm leaving behind.
So the thing is, I always I've always been an advocate for depth over breadth. Like I get it कि ठीक है बहुत सारे opportunities है, and you want to be everywhere, but at the end of it, you still have 24 hours, and कम से कम 6 घंटे तो सोओगे. And I know कि B schools में जैसे कि you get to only sleep for 3 to 4 hours, but that's not very sustainable. So you're going to have a lot of work. You're going to have academics. You'll have projects, internship preparation, this that. So you're always like you never free. Like even on your weekends where you have time to chill, even then you'll have some work in the back of your head. So I would advise you've done your UG, right? So ki okay, I can cope up with this amount of work. So MBA में थोड़ा सा और add on कर लो, but without checking up first on yourself कि okay, am I actually going to be able to handle all of this? If we'll have that, have one thinking session, have some people, to look at them, look at what they're doing, and evaluate whether you can take up that kind of a workload or not. So based on that, make a decision. And if you're spread out too thin over a lot of things, so something will suffer. या तो acads भाड़ में जाएंगे, नहीं तो फिर your sleep is going to go to hell. So and at the end of it, you're going to get tired. You're not going to enjoy your journey there. So एक दो चीजें पकड़ लो, become good at it. And there's this whole trope कि MBA is like a place to explore, and
Right.
it is like opportunities बहुत हैं, but like pick out one or two that you want to explore. You're not going to have the time to like explore 10 new things and still pass your acad, still get a good internship.
Right.
And like ठीक है, if you're able to do that, great for you, but generally it's hard. So
right. So specifically when you're talking about academics, so I mean, is it so that people feel that okay, ठीक है, अब CAD खोल लिया है, so now we can do whatever we want, or acads are still as important after going in the B school as well?
see, acads are important in the sense that one thing I do believe is it's not like your acads are going to help you in the job a lot. Like it's going to give you a basic, a basic level of knowledge, which can help you a little, but you're still going to learn a lot on the job, and your acads aren't going to be like very helpful. But they are important in the sense that if you want, say, consulting or finance, your grades in the MBA college matter a lot. So if your grade, and at the end of the day, it's relative grading. So relative grading, there are going to be people out there who are going to be working hard. So if you think that grades are important for you, you'll have to devote a large amount of your time to it. And in that, you'll have to sacrifice thoda sa clubs वगैरह का. So you have to make that call. But yes, if you don't want to pursue acads, if you have, say, a very specific goal where your marks don't really matter and just passing is enough, then you can choose to do other activities. Because pass करने के just pass अगर करना है, ठीक है, C plus लाके B minus लाके pass हो जाए बस, so you just have to submit your stuff on, in time. That's it. I'm not saying it has to be very low quality, but a medium level का, average level का कुछ दे भी दोगे तो हो.
But wouldn't it, I mean, in long run affect your placement processes and the shortlists you get by the companies?
Your marks?
Yeah, your academics.
In consultant finance, yes. And marketing, not really. I mean, see, marketing they tend to look at your CV in terms of what kind of internships you've done. Do you have the skills required for the job? So they don't really look at acads a lot. Of course, it shouldn't be like very bad. Like if see, in IIM Calcutta, we had a grading rubric of 9. Like 9 is the highest CGPA, and the average is around 6. So if you have something like 5.1 type ka, then it might, deter like top tier companies like, say, HUL, P&G. But again, doesn't really matter if you have other things on your CV, like live projects, whatever, like marketing related stuff.
Right.
So yeah, and you need to know how to communicate. Like you need to be good at interviews and GDs. So if you're good at that, so you can skip out on marks thoda. Again, I'm not saying you just sit and not study, but like do enough to pass.
Right. So when you're talking about interviews and GDs, let's move on to that part of the conversation. So after getting into the college, the first thing which most of the B schools face are the preparation for summers, internships and everything. So how was that part for you? How much ready were you, or how overwhelming was that period particularly?
See, since I wasn't gunning for consulting or finance, for me, marks were a little like they weren't that important for me, and I had some time to prep. Marketing prep, so I was focusing on marketing during my summers, and marketing prep isn't like once you get a good understanding of it, you'll be able to do it. So, like, I'll give you a rough example. Like, you need to know how to do STP 4P. That's pretty much it. Like, uske alawa bhi there are things which you can know, pestle, SWOT analysis, and all of that. But I would say, even if you're like very slow at grasping things, a week and a half is enough to prep for that. So since I was only targeting marketing, for me, it was not very hectic. But also my CV was already very marketing-y. Like it had a lot of ECA in it. It had a lot of marketing projects in it and internships in it. So I was worried about my marketing placements. But people who were targeting other sectors like consulting or finance, or they were targeting multiple sectors. First priority is consulting, second is marketing. For them, it was very hectic because consult prep takes like 1 to 1.5 months proper. Plus, you have to try to reach out to as many people as you can to get help with the casework and everything.
Right.
So and finance walo, I can't speak for the finance people because I have zero idea of unka kya prep hota hai. But they looked busy and they looked very sad. So it is a hectic phase. Plus you have a lot of deadlines, CV submission deadline, CV review deadline, this deadline, that deadline. So mock interviews karne hote hain. You have like a certain number of mock interviews you have to do with your seniors.
Right.
So all of that takes up a lot of time. So it's a time-taking process.
So, like, if we go a step back and try to understand, like, you knew that, or like, say, you thought that you were interested into marketing, but in this short period of time, there are a lot of people who actually are still not able to figure out the field they want to get in. So, leave the preparation behind. So, how can one actually figure out that, okay, this is what I think I might be interested in, or this is something I might be good at? Like any field, be it consulting, finance, marketing, whatever.
Right. So for me, why I chose marketing was because I'd interned in I'd interned in Tinder before I joined, during my UG. So that experience was a really good experience for me. I really liked the work, and I felt that my background and my skill set matches up with the field of marketing and sales much more than it would with any other. I was pretty clear on that before I joined. So for me, it was like a very one-track mindset. कि ठीक है, marketing ही करना है. As for consulting and finance, for consulting, the two things. first, I don't have the grades for it, right?
Okay.
So that's one deterrent. The second deterrent is I know I can't work for 16 hours a day. So I knew these two things, and I knew the marketing thing. I want to get into marketing. When I got there, I found out what kind of work life balance you have in consulting. So I wasn't up for that. So I had that down. For people who are joining these schools and they're not, they're still exploring, they don't know ki kahan jana hai, and they're confused about which sector to choose. What would generally help is, instead of talking just to your seniors, because your seniors are people who have done an internship, right, at max. They don't have actual work experience like within that sector, unless pehle se karke aaye ho. So try to reach out to people who are working in that sector and try to figure out what kind of work they do. Because just jo preparation hota hai, even when you do consult prep, whatever casework you do, case solving and all, actually what you end up doing in the job. So try to talk to someone who's actively working in the field. Use LinkedIn, use contacts from your alumni, whatever, and have 1 10-minute talk with them ki aap din mein kya karte ho. And then I think that should give you a clear idea of what you really want to do. Because marketing I talked to people who were in marketing and I did like what they did, like what they were doing. Consulting, again, great field to be in, lots of exposure, lots of different kinds of work to do, but too much work for me personally.
Yeah.
So once you figure that out, that time. So once you do that, I think a problem that a lot of people face is that अपने ही बैचमेट्स में सब लोग बात करें कौन सा करें क्या करें, एंड किसी को कुछ पता नहीं है, and then everybody has their own opinions on everything. Like in terms of consulting, like a lot of people who were good at, say, other things like marketing or operations or whatever, like they already had a niche thing going. वहां पर जाके their opinion changed कि अच्छा, consulting is like very prestigious, so I should get into that. So try not to fall into that trap and figure out what you want for yourself.
Right. Okay, so now I'm really interested to know, how was your internship experience? How did it go? And how much clarity did you get post that, okay, that this is what I want to pursue going ahead?
All right, so I didn't get a core marketing internship during my summers due to a lot of other circumstances, and I ended up at a firm called MX Player. So it's like their main stream of revenue is advertising. It's a media firm. So my role was it was sort of like a general management role. I was working with the CEO and manager, and I had a lot of fun there. It's a really fun place to work at, and 2 months just flew by. So I didn't get a lot of clarity on which sector I want to be in exactly, but working there gave me a whole new experience. Like, it was my first proper corporate experience where I had to deal with like a lot of stakeholders and a huge chain of command. Whereas earlier, like the place I had interned in, it was like, okay, there would be one brand manager or a marketing manager above me, and max to max uske senior se baat karna hoga. Whereas in MX there, I had to the chain from like the analyst level to the CO. I had to interact with a lot of people. It was a new experience for me, and it gave me like a general management sort of feel, and I liked it, which is why I opted for that sector in my finance.
Right. So, like you supposedly did, and that is what my next question is specifically, like for people who are finally able to figure out that, okay, this is not what I want to do. What is the way ahead from that? Because probably I'm not very sure if you get a chance to do a second internship before sitting for finals, and finals is the last shot at getting into your career, and then it's a long journey ahead. So, how can one actually figure out that, okay, if this field is not for me, what are the other options I can look for?
See, so post your summer internship, you still have a year to go. If you didn't like what you did, and you want to shift sectors, it's okay. It's a little challenging because once you have, let's say I've done a marketing internship and I realized I didn't like it, but मेरे CV में तो अब marketing का ही जाने वाला है. So it's a little hard to shift gears for finals. So that is to do as many live projects as you can in whatever other sectors you want to try out. You can do that, and if you're in a good college, you'll get a lot of opportunities to do that. And even if you're not, like, you can use like social media to get those opportunities, and that way you can try out new sectors. So that's one way. The second way is so usually in colleges we have a lot of clubs, right, related to particular sectors. Like for us, we had Marcy, which was the marketing club. We had PM Tech, the Prodman club. There was finance club, operations club. You can work with them and try to figure out whether you like that work or not, right? Even if you're not in that club, you can always interact with club members to figure out, okay, what happens in this sector. So that should give you some clarity on which sector you're leaning towards. Once you have that clarity, then you can start working towards it because you still have a year to go. So उस sector के live projects कर लो, and then depending on which sector it is, if you, let's say if it's consulting or finance that you're working towards, if it's consulting, especially you'll need to, really pay attention to your academics so that your grades go up if they aren't already.
Right.
Yeah. Finance, there are some limitations because finance usually looks for people who either have a finance educational background, or if they have finance work ex, or if they have some certification like CA, CFA, L3, L3, L2 is type ka. So if you're really, really interested in finance, you can try to get a CFA L1 at least before finals. But yes, getting into finance after your summer internship is very challenging. So, but you can shift sectors thoda bahut.
So, Anindya, like we talked about so many things which probably we would be experiencing 2 months down the line. So, since we have some time in hand right now, people are also all over the place right now to figure out that, okay, these are the things I need to do right now before joining the B school. So, what are those things specifically according to you that one should do before joining a B school?
So before joining a B school, one thing that will really help you out 2 months later is whatever internships you've done, which you plan to put on your CV, whatever positions of responsibility you've had in your UG, the verification process generally is very strict, right? So you'll need to have all the proofs ready. You'll have to contact your ex-managers, even if it's your internship, because you'll have to get a verification mail from them. So try to get all of that work done if you can before joining. Like, just inform your manager ki, okay, I'll need this help later on, so that they're in the loop, because you'll get around like 2 weeks to do all of that. You'll have a 2-week deadline to get everything verified. And if you have all of that ready beforehand, us time pe you won't be stressed. So because every point ke liye you have to have your proofs ready. So whatever certificates you need, everything, get all of that in order before you go to a B school, because post that you won't have time. So that's going to help. Secondly, a lot of people, like I didn't do it, but a lot of people did this. You can just look up whatever courses you have in your first year, right? But jo curriculum hai, whatever subjects they're going to teach. So some people, they did this and it helped them out, was to do some, basic work before they came in. So that when they came, they already had a few notes ready. Now, personally, I didn't do it because like it's too much work. But a lot of people did it and it helped them out. So if you feel like you're that kind of person who can invest that time and effort into it, go ahead, it'll help you out. And lastly, if you have some clarity on which sector you want to go into. If you don't, that's also fine. Then spend this time trying to get that clarity, talk to as many people as you can. If you do have that clarity, then prepare accordingly in terms of which clubs you want to join, if you want to join any, and which case comps you want to tackle, right? Because the case comp calendar, you can just open D2C, it's called Unstop now. You can just open it and you can check out last year's case comps. So you'll get a rough timeline of which case comps are going to come by. So that way you can target ones beforehand, because you'll have to make teams for it also. So wo sab pehle se thoda sa you can prep, but again, not a lot. Like, you can't do a lot, but if you manage to do all of this, the 2-month journey that you have ahead of you, it will be really smooth.
Yeah, that was like genuinely really helpful for me as well. Thanks on that. Okay, so specifically when we are talking about the summer internships, we do see people that some of them have so many points on their CV, and probably this gets intimidating for folks around because they might not have done so many extracurriculars or co-curriculars, like say during their undergraduation or work experience if they've had any before the MBA. So how should one actually deal with this? And more than jotting down the points, I want to understand the temperament with which one should hold and possess at this point in time, that okay, these are the things I have in hand and I can still do decently enough during my summer placements.
Right. So there's always going to be people who are better than you, right? Because this is not an equal race, right? You're always going to be different from the people there. There are going to be people who have like McKinsey backend work ex, us type ke bhi log rahenge, right? So, and you're a fresher, and you're not going to have the same caliber of points, the same quality of points, or even the same number of points. So my advice to you would always be ki whatever version, like whatever points you do have, try to frame them in the best way possible. Take guidance from your seniors, look at seniors ke CVs, and understand how to frame them as per whatever sector you're targeting. The thing is, you'll have approximately 2 months ish, like June, July, August. August mein to, your placements are almost on your head. So you're not going to be able to like add in a lot of new stuff, achieve a lot in that particular phase of life. So whatever you have, present it well. If other people have better points, so be it. Like, your only goal should be to make your CV as presentable as possible and to prepare as well as possible. Because if you start looking at other people and their achievements, you're never going to be happy. Like, even after your final placements, you may get a great placement, but just because someone else has a better placement and uske liye tumhara mood kharab ho raha hai, then you're never going to be happy, because there are always going to be people who are better than you, and that's just like the truth.
And
So
there
you
is,
can
and
only
is
try
there
to.
some end to this, or actually this never ends? Like one thing
This
after the
this will
other.
never end, because like you can only try to be like as good as you can.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you try hard enough, you're gonna get there, right? And try to compare yourself to like a past version of you. Like, if you look at your CV now and you compare that with, like, say, your first year of UG version, you're gonna be so much better, right? So that's all that matters.
Right. So specifically when you're talking about the live projects and the case competitions, from what I've generally heard is that these competitions give you a much clearer picture of what actually goes on in the corporate world, because you're dealing with business problems and case studies. So how much participation should students do, and how important are these for your CV as well?
Okay, so I'll talk about live projects first. So the thing with live projects is ki if you're a brand name onto your CV, right? It's always good for your finals. That's one thing. Secondly, it will give you exposure to whatever sector you want to get exposure in, right? So you'll get more experience. You'll learn more about that sector. You'll have more knowledge for your finals. So it's always helpful. Is it like it's not like if you don't do a live project, your finals are going to go
Sure,
terribly.
sure.
Like, if you have other things on your CV, it's fine. But if you want to get more depth in terms of whatever sector you're aiming for, a live project is always helpful.
Mhm.
Does that for live projects. For case competitions, again, generally case comps are very I don't know, like, it's not very sector specific. Like, even if, let's say, a marketing company, HL there's a HL line that happens.
Mhm.
It's not like only marketing knowledge is going to go into it. You'll need to have a lot of you need to take into consideration a lot of factors. These are very general business development type case competitions. So they're really, yes, if you win, they look great on your CV, right? Secondly, these case competitions usually have like a PPI sort of thing attached to them if you win. So you get a chance to just get out of the whole placement cycle immediately. So for before your summers also, and like finals ke liye bhi. Like, they
Mhm.
give final offers as well. So if you again, if you're participating in those, make sure that you actually making the time for them, right? And don't, it doesn't mean ki, like, a lot of people do this ki bahut sare clubs join kar liye, bahut sare case comps
Right.
kar liye. But then to actually win, you'll need to have that knowledge down. Seniors say you can take help for that, what templates to use and so on and so forth. Make a good team for it and try to ace the case comps which you think you'll win. Like, ki iske liye mere paas time deadlines coming up, and B, ki you're interested in that sector. So then and only then should you participate. And there's no like number ki, okay, if I participate in XYZ amount of case comps, it's gonna look good on my CV. If you're not
Understood.
winning them, if you're not getting an achievement out of them, then it's not going to be of much use. So if you're prepped, if you're ready, if you have the time for it, then go for it. And yes, if you manage to reach like finals or whatever, then it will add to your CV, especially if it's sector relevant.
So specifically, after we are done with the CV process, the next step is, preparing for interviews, or if you have any, product solving cases specifically for product management, I'm talking about. So how should one start preparing for those interviews, and what are the steps involved in that?
So your first step should be, generally colleges give you like a compendium or like a handbook which has all the sector relevant information, and it usually compiles all the interview experiences of the last batch and the batch before that. So you'll have access to that. So that should help you a lot. And going through that, well, like, read through it properly line by line and try to figure out what kind of questions would match up with your CV, right? Like, what kind of questions are going to be asked to you, like in terms of experience, if you have any, or cases bhi kis type ke aane wale. Everything is given there. So that's not the hard part. The hard part is uh, once you make your CV and when a final CV for your summers is ready, you should have control over every point, right? Because
Okay.
again, prod specific, I can't give you a lot of information. But when it comes to any interview, if you don't have confidence over a single point, that thing is going to be at the back of your head कि यार इसमें से कोई कुछ पूछना ले, right?
Mm-hmm.
So always try to make sure that you have every point down in your head. And like, let's say I have a point which says I devised a growth strategy that boosted 15% or something like that. Now पॉइंट लिखने के लिए मैंने लिख दिया है, बट मुझे याद ही नहीं है कि मैंने कैसे किया था, बिकॉज an interview can ask कि what was the growth strategy you like, what were the KPIs you used, how did you arrive at this 15% ka number. So whether or not they're going to ask that is irrelevant, but you should be ready for it. So any questions that can branch out of any of your CV points, you have to be ready for that. Apart from that, another thing that helps, and this usually helps with being confident in your interviews as well, you should know about your journey up until now, what you did in your UG, what kind of PORs you held, whatever you've done till now. You should have that down in your head. If it helps, write it down, go through it. But you should know, because if the interviewer ends up thinking यार इसको खुद के life के बारे में knowledge नहीं है, इसको नहीं पता है, so then that's always a negative thing. So, and once you do all of that prep well, and you have your points अच्छे से prepped, you have your cases done, you have your life ready, then you get this inner confidence कि यार क्या पूछ लेगा, मतलब what is the worst they can ask, and once you have that attitude down, you're ready. Like that's the only thing you have to do. So looking at other people's CVs and like comparing here, he has better points or she has a better section, that's not gonna help.
Right. So if I can summarize it, it would include your academics, your past extracurriculars, co-curriculars, things you must have done apart from this in your personal life, your work experience if you have had any before your MBA, any sort of case competitions or product cases which we were talking about, anything else which you would want to add in this preparation list particularly?
Yeah, you should have knowledge about your decisions, like as in whatever decisions you've made, whether it's your work experience, whether it's your why you came to this XYZ
Right.
college, you should know that, you should have a firm answer for it. And usually people prep for this, वो अपने IIMs and इसके like CAT के बाद के interviews के लिए भी people prep all of this. But even for your summer internship interviews, it really helps if you know all of that, because if you have that structure down, especially for general management roles at least, you should know why you made each decision like whatever decisions you've made in your life, major decisions, you should know why you made it. And even if it was a wrong decision at the time, so at us time pe what you felt when you made that decision, these things you should have a clarity of. So they really help, especially in Gen Man.
Right. Okay. So after we have done a lot of serious discussion about a few things, let's talk about something interesting specifically. So I just want to understand how fun was the campus life for you, specifically at Joka, as we hear that it's known for its parties and the fun which goes around on campus. How was it? And how much, what is your takeaway from it? Were there any mistakes or regrets do you have from any of the experiences, so to say? Or I mean, which personally you must have had, or personally, you must have experienced from the folks around your friends, maybe. So if you would like to, show.
No, I don't regret any party.
Of
But
course.
वैसे the like overall the experience, yes, I think I do believe that IIM Calcutta in comparison with say A, B, or even L, it's a little more. I mean, you have a little more time to party. But I had a lot of fun in those 2 years because I got to interact with a whole different set of people that I had never interacted with. Like the two sets of people I interacted were athletes and people who are from my college, like the arts crowd. So initially I'd been a little apprehensive. I hadn't been in a government college before, and like सुनने को तो बहुत कुछ मिला हुआ था कि ragging होती है government colleges में, ये होता है वो होता है.
Right.
Plus like everybody is going to be very studious, everybody is just going to be heavily into academics. But I was very pleasantly surprised when I got there. So people there were, it was a very fun-loving crowd. And yes, there were people who liked academics, but even then, even they had, they always made time to have fun. So it wasn't what I expected. And ragging kuch nahi tha. So like our seniors were very friendly, and we had a great time with them. And all in all, it was a very wholesome experience.
Right. So looking back, if you look back to your 2-year journey as a fresher, I mean, as a newcomer who's getting into a B school life, would you want to suggest me a few things that ye mat karna, ya these are the things, are clear no's? What are some of the advices which you would like to give us?
Firstly, wait, don't spread yourself thin utna. Yeah, I know there are going to be people who are like part of 6 clubs, 7 clubs, but then unka kuch nahi hone wala. I don't think I should be saying that, but yes, like try to pick out a few things that you really like and pursue them as far as you can, right? Because there's only 2 years, and of that 2 years, you're gonna be spending, I think, 2 months ka autumn internship tumhara rahega.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be like vacation, holiday, वगैरह सब मिला के you're not spending there. So try to invest more. Also try to invest more in people. Like try not to shut yourself out and interact with as many people as you can. Learn from them, because वहाँ पे there's going to be a crowd that that comes from all parts of India. So that's one thing. A mistake that you'd asked me earlier about mistakes, right? So or regret. One mistake that I made was that I didn't invest as much time as I should have in my academics. So I should have invested. Like I think I was doing, I was busy with other things. I was doing live projects and I was busy with my club work and like extracurriculars, and I had fun. But I should have given a little more importance to my academics, because end May, my grades were low and there was a lot of stress around it. So I could have avoided that entire thing if I'd just given a little more time. That's one mistake I made. But apart from that, yeah, well, it's going to be a fun experience for you, and just make sure that if acads is not your goal, give it that little time that it requires. So apart from everybody's going to do fine. Once you get there, you're going to meet a new set of people. You're going to interact with them. You're going to make your friends. So हो जाएगा.
Right. And
stress लेने से कुछ नहीं होगा.
specifically when you're talking about people, how was your bonding around with the folks on campus? I mean, how good friends did you make? And basically the networking thing which people talk about on campus, how did you go about it? Be it making friends with your seniors or super seniors, so to say, before joining a B school, and how should one actually figure out that, okay, because people generally say that on B school things become a little professional because we are running this against the clock, and people tend to get professional. You're shifting classes and batches and with respect to your courses and everything. So how should one actually deal with it?
Right. So when it comes to networking and making friends, there is a line between that, right? Like networking is different, making friends is different.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that you shouldn't think too much about it, right? Because otherwise you'll be like, you won't make, because if you're thinking from that angle all the time, okay, I have to network, I have to
Right.
seek out people who are quote unquote important or popular. No, it's not going to help you out. And I mean, other people are also not going to like it. So for me, like I did make I made a group of friends and I'm really close to them, and we talk every day. Like अभी तो job की joining भी नहीं हुई है mostly, so time भी बहुत है, but we do talk every day, and I think that's going to continue. As for the networking aspect of it, see, try with as many people as you can, right? Like don't be try not to hurt anyone, but apart from that, okay, let's say you have a very specific goal, right? Okay, you want to get into, say, McKinsey, right? So what people usually do is they try to talk to people who are in that firm or have experienced that side of things. So that's fine. Trying to learn from people is fine, but I would advise you not to outwardly कि सामने वाले को पता चल रहा है कि तुम network करने आए हो, because that's not going to help you out. Just try to learn from people, and if you're nice with them, you get along with them, fine, that's it. Like, I don't think you should put too much thought into it. जितना networking करना है वो LinkedIn पे कर लो, भेज लो request लोगों को कर. तो but in real life, at least in your B school journey, I would suggest that just try to get along with people and learn from them, and that should be more than enough.
Basically, don't barter human relationships. That's what you're trying
Yeah,
to say.
exactly. Like
Emotions
you
का
don't need
barter
to.
मत करो.
Like you don't need to think of it working करने जा रहा हूँ. Like if you meet someone, you try to learn from them, try to get to know them, and that's about it.
Okay, so as we are moving towards the end of our conversation, I just want you to look back to the 2 years of journey which you have had. And is there, if you were given a chance to probably live these 2 years all over again, would you want to do something differently this time around, or would it be the same?
Uh, One thing I would definitely do is, change my attitude towards academics, right? And that's not because, I would learn more or anything like that, more because like I wouldn't suffer in my last 2 terms trying to get my grades up. So that's one thing I would change. The second thing I would change is, I don't know. So basically, I believe that, you should socialize a lot, and I did socialize a lot, but you have to decide how much time and attention and you want to give to that aspect of life. So if you know, okay, you have to socialize, that's bound to happen. What I would do differently is that I would choose my moments of socializing a little differently, because somehow it just so happened कि मेरा सबसे ज़्यादा socializing exam के time ही होता था. So,
Okay.
I would shift that around a bit, change which parties I attended. That's about
Okay.
it. These are the two things I would do.
Okay. So finally, Anindya, I just want in like any special message which you would want to give to the folks who would be joining B school in like say a month or so. What is it that they are, gunning for and what lies ahead of them?
Like one message, see, one thing that would have helped me when I was in your place was that when I entered that B school domain, initially I was, taken aback by the fact that, like, everybody's from a very different background, and, they've been much better than me academically and otherwise. Like, they have work ethics, I'm a fresher. So all these differences, it was a little overwhelming, especially in the first term.
Hmm.
So for people, especially for those who are freshers, I would advise, don't compare yourself to others, right? You're there, they're there. So at the end of the day, you're both from that college. So whatever different achievements you have or may not have, it doesn't matter, right? So try to enjoy that experience as much as possible. Try to invest more time in people, because eventually when you walk away, if you all you've done is, just limit yourself to say just academics or just internships or something, you'll feel like you missed out on a lot. So try to invest more time in people, and you'll be fine.
Right. So thank you, Anandya. I mean, especially I had a great time talking to you, and as an incoming MBA student, I was able to draw as many insights as possible from our conversation. So thank you so much for making time. And yeah, we'll hope to see you next time. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.